Okay, welcome then to this session as we take a look at searching CINAHL in the new EBSCOhost user interface. And I know I've probably met some of you before in the past, various meetings, events, and so on, and some of my trainings you may have attended some time ago. But just for those who have not met me before, I'm Richard Crooks. I recently rejoined EBSCO back in July. I'm now a senior customer training specialist. I live in East Midlands and also previously worked, as I'm sure most of you are aware, in the NHS for about 12 years in various library services in various roles, supporting healthcare professionals. I've been now supporting customers, users, etc. in the UK and Ireland primarily, and sometimes in the Nordics over the last 13 years with EBSCO. So as always, if you've got any comments, questions, please feel free to post them in the Teams chat. So in terms of what we plan to cover today, we will review the new interface features. There will be a live demonstration where we look at both basic and advanced searching, the use of CINAHL sorted headings for the new interface, the application of filters and limiters also with the new UI, and also what various tools are available to cite, save, export search results as well. And of course, articles. And again, time permitting, we'll have some time for questions and responses or answers at the end as well. So do submit them as we go through this. Okay, so in terms of the actual session, I hope that by the end of the session, so within the next hour, you'll be able to recognize and locate the new features of the EBSCOhost interface. Obviously, for those of you in NHS England, you've already experienced the transition from the classic EBSCO Discovery Service to the new one, the Knowledge and Library Hub, to the new interface, and some of the features and functionality is very similar to that. So you would identify some of those things already. The interface is very similar in some respects, but obviously the nature of searching content will differ. You will also be able to understand how to execute basic and advanced searches. We'll look at both, including the use of subject headings, filters, and limiters, so applying those to your search. And also, as I mentioned, be able to access and use various tools within this interface to manage your search once you've completed the search itself, etc. So that's what you're expecting from this session. These are, in a sense, initial introductions to the new EBSCOhost interface based on what's there currently. Obviously, we'll be developing these as time goes forward with more features released and also looking at more advanced sessions later on. So just a quick recap of CINAHL, especially for the benefits of those who may be users on this session. We may have some students enrolled in this particular webinar today. Some may not be familiar with CINAHL, and we are going to focus on the basic version of CINAHL, and I'll say more about that in a moment. But basically, we're looking at the nursing and allied health database. So you'll find specialties covered like cardiovascular nursing, critical care nursing, nuclear medicine, occupational therapy, pediatric nursing, physiotherapy, and so on. So just a caveat here regarding the versions. Now, in the NHS in England, of course, CINAHL is the national subscription. Other bodies may have CINAHL Plus or CINAHL Plus for full text. You may have upgraded to CINAHL Complete or the top-end version, which is CINAHL Ultimate, which has more active full text, non-embargoed content, plus Complete and Ultimate both have nursing videos. So whichever version you subscribe to or have access to, whether you're a librarian or an end user, the principles that we look at today for using the interface will be the same across the board. The biggest difference will be the content, okay, what kind of content you can access in terms of full text coverage, and in some cases like video content for the latter two versions of CINAHL I alluded to. Okay, so what we're looking at is kind of generic, but it can be applied to the other versions as well. So before we get into the live demonstration, we'll go through some of the new features and interface enhancements, and I'll say more about some that are to come later as well. First thing is that the new interface supports the new URL structure at EBSCO. So the bottom line for this is that basically means that the browser address bar URL can now be used as a permalink. So if you recall with Classic, and of course a number of you still have access to it right now, and you've not yet migrated, you have to use a permalink, a separate link for that. You have to create a link for that. Now, when you come to an article, come to an item, you can bookmark the browser address bar URL. Okay, so that's a big step forward, something much more intuitive. I think we've always cautioned users about, don't bookmark the page because it's only a session-based URL. Now that's not the case. You can actually bookmark that page. Okay, so that's an improvement with the new UI. Also, this drive to support accessibility for all user groups So the interfaces are responsive. They can be used on different size devices, whether you're using a tablet, mobile device, laptop, etc. There's a simplified design, as you'll note, with a lot of white space, which you get comments about, and that is to reduce the cognitive load. We have auto suggest, autocorrect features. There's easier access to quick filters. We support accessible ebook formats like EPUB, DRM-free. We have headings and landmarks for screen reader navigation. There's more descriptive text for images and non-text content. There's also transcripts for videos where applicable, and also the text-to-speech software has been enhanced. So historically, we've always provided MP3 download options for HTML. Now that's available for PDF full text as well. So again, and this is with the drive support, WCAG guidelines worldwide, etc. In addition, for those of you who would like to switch to another language for the interface, this could be useful for new students, new healthcare professionals. Maybe they get into grips with the English language, or they just prefer to see the interface in their own language. Then, of course, you can change it to one of 33 languages. The most recent of which, of course, shown here is Hindi. Okay, so languages can be selected in the My EBSCO Preferences section, so we need to be signed into your personal folder in that respect. Okay, so that presents a drop down to choose the preferred language. Another key feature, and probably one's been waited for some time, is the location of practice limiter or filter. What does that do? So if you consider historically, again with CINAHL, we had the geographic subset filter, which is really the region of the publication, the country of publication or territory of publication, so where the publication originates from, and that featured a entry UK and Ireland. So if you selected that filter, you are basically retrieving journals that are published in either the UK and Ireland. Now, with location of practice, it's not about the country of publication, it's about the practice, where the research practice procedure was carried out, etc. And on this listing, this alphabetical listing, you'll see various continents, territories, countries mentioned, and of course we have the United Kingdom. If we have anyone from the HSC here or for another institution within Ireland, I don't yet know what are the plans for Ireland. This is based on CINAHL indexing, by the way. So location of practice is using the CINAHL index term, so United Kingdom in this instance, to retrieve records related to that location and not necessarily about the country of publication. Okay, so it could be research carried out in the United Kingdom that is published in another journal, like JAMA, New England Journal of Medicine, and so on. So we're looking at that as we go through the live demonstration. In addition to that, we also have the PICO search, which has been enhanced. Some of you may have had that deployed. I know in the NHS it was deployed across the board for CINAHL Medline. Some academic institutions also may have had this enabled previously. It now contains the fifth element, the time or type of study. So how long will it take to reach the desired outcome and what types of studies are needed? So that could be used arbitrarily. Essentially with this, with PICO, you'll be using the first two elements and that's mandated. So what individual group are we studying? So the problem, patient, or population, and then intervention. What is the intervention or treatment being considered? It could be exposure, of course, like nodology. But basically, of those five elements, the two are compulsory. You need to enter data terms in those fields, but the others are optional, especially, of course, if there may not be a comparison to the treatment that is in question, as it were. An outcome may well be implied. Also, now this has not yet been enabled for the NHS. Now, it's also available for Discovery and also EBSCOhost. So this is a new feature, again, with a new interface, Generative AI Insights. So basically, you have these concise summaries, typically 2 to 5 points for each document, each full text document, I might add. So it's generated by a large language model. Okay, so the reason for this is really to support users, to reduce the time they spend searching for full text articles. So it's really facilitating rapid review. So basically, it provides a 2 to 5 point summary of the full text article, and that's from the result list. So you'll see that if you have that available, enabled. And it uses retrieval augmented generation or the RAG method to reduce hallucinations. And we do have subject matter experts involved as well to check for biases, tone accuracy, and so on periodically as well. So not everyone will see this today. If you've migrated to EBSCOhost, so as of early August, you may have seen that if it's been enabled for you. But if it hasn't been, then please, and you feel this will be of interest, then please do consult your local EBSCO representatives for that. There's no cost to this. It does need to be enabled though in EBSCO Experience Manager, which is one of the two tools to manage the interface. We also have the AI-powered natural language search mode as well. So essentially it allows researchers, users, yourselves to search using everyday terminology in a question or statement form. Okay, so basically you can enter a question and it will generate a response. You can see the query it generates, as we'll see live shortly. So it's very intuitive. It's been well received so far. So it's really designed to provide immediate answers, if you like, to a particular question based on what literature is available within the database. So in this case, in this context, CINAHL. Okay, so we do have more information on this, by the way, but we'll see it live shortly. So it is something that can be opted in. It's available on the basic search page, be toggled on or off, and it is also available as a search option. So the likes of proximity searching, find all the search terms on the advanced search page, but it may be hidden. Okay, so again, we'll look at that live in a moment. So again, it can be opted in on the advanced search page as well. Right now, and for the majority of the time, we're going to spend in the live demo. So I'm going to just switch over here and go straight to the interface for this database for CINAHL. So we've got CINAHL here. So let me just remind you what we've got here. Essentially, I'm going to go full screen for the moment. And we've got the advanced search page. This is the typical entry point for most institutions in our experience for using healthcare databases. So it's CINAHL, Medline, etc. Now, we do have a basic search option that is there on the top right. And that gives you more like a Google-like, Discovery-like layer, as it were, to run the search. And you'll notice on this page, you've got the natural language search query here as well. So just to demonstrate that initially, and I'll point out to you where you can find that also on the advanced search page, if you toggle this on, then you can enter your query here. So for example, I'm going to add what are the standards of care for pressure ulcers. And I can also change this as well. I can add in the United Kingdom, for example, but I'll just leave it on this for now. Okay, so if I do that now, I run the search and you'll see we've got results below. And you can see the key terms that are highlighted, etc. as well. Okay, so you can see for the first item is from Wounds UK, then we've got Journal Community Nursing. These are UK journals, etc. And we have others here. So we have those listed. And also to know, above the results, you'll see here, and maybe a little small, I was going to zoom in a little bit here. You'll see there's a reference here, natural language search, enhanced ease of use, etc. And you can show the refined query. So obviously the question comes in, how is it actually searching? And if you click show refined query, you can see the Boolean query here, pressure ulcers, bed sores, standards of guidelines, etc. and how they've been combined, and then the search run based on that, okay, with the results below. Okay, so you have that option there. Now notice when you do run a search, you'll see we've got the initial filters here, and because we're using the basic CINAHL version, so it basically only has a very small quantity of full text content, it's typically abstract index only content, you'll see the button link full text, and link full text will simply be other full text from other EBSCOhost databases which are transferable, or they may be other subscriptions that you subscribe to that have been set up to be linked through to this database. So link full text just covers sort of all the options there. So you see access PDF there, access options here. You see the PDF online full text there as well. So just a brief review of natural language searching. As I mentioned, if I click new search here, we go back to the advanced search page. We've still got the query here. But one thing to note on this page, if you scroll down, you'll see we've got these filters. These are the initial filters on the advanced search page. Good English language, of course. Exclude Medline records there. And we've got publication date. And importantly, for this session, if you scroll down, you'll see you've got the two geographic filters. So geographic subset, as has always been the case, relates to the territory or country of publications. So you see UK and Ireland, so that'll pick up the likes of the British Journal Community Nursing, British Journal Nursing, Board of Irish Nursing and Midwifery, for example. However, location of practice relates to the actual population group, the region of research, etc. So if you scroll down, you'll see we've got United Kingdom here, and you can select that. Now, if you use the control key, you can select more than one. And again, just to hasten that, this is based on the indexing of content in CINAHL. So if I click search now with that query in view, in fact, it didn't do it for me. Sorry about that this time. I'll do another search with that in a moment, but that is you have that option on the advanced search page. So with that, just to point out here, you can, I'm going to clear this for now, you have the filter, of course, I just showed you that, and also search options here. And you'll notice on this page, we have natural language search. So you can still run a natural language search from the advanced search page as preferred. And then, of course, you can apply the filters from this tab as well on this page. So again, most likely your user will be defaulted to this page. You can perform basic searches within the advanced search page, but it does give you the benefit of multiple terms that can be entered, and you can see the rows that you can add. You can add up to 12 rows, so you can do line by line searching, combining with the Boolean operators here on the left, and where appropriate, where preferred, you can add the various fields here as well. Okay, so that's the kind of layout there. Apart from search options, again, just to point this out to you, so for the NHS, this is a demonstration I'm using, by the way. You'll see proximity is being replaced by phrase. So you can edit these labels. You can hide these if you don't feel they're necessary. So natural language search can be hidden, by the way, and that's used in the EBSCO Experience Manager tool as well. Then there's the expanders, which in the case of the NHS in England, these all three have been selected. So apply rated words will pick up the source terms, rated your keyword search. Also search in the full text does what it says, searches within full text documents directly, as well as the basic citation, and apply current subjects maps your term to key concept, which in turn maps to various subheadings within the database. Now, for each of these, by the way, you'll see there's a context-sensitive help to EBSCO Connect. So if you want more about natural language search or these search modes, click on EBSCO Connect, and you'll see the link, or you'll see the page related to these areas. So you can see natural language here. Okay, so those are available, and likewise also for expanders, you have this link here. Now, there is an online help available. And for most of you, certainly outside the NHS, when you click help on the bottom left there of the navigation panel, that link will take you to the quick start guide for the new interface. And that gives you the links to the FAQs, release notes, the tutorial, and various elements of searching, browsing, using the dashboard tools, etc. We also include the original help files that you would have been familiar with EBSCO, with EBSCOhost. In other words, when you click help on or you currently do with the classic interface, it will take you to a dedicated support page for that database. We've discarded that now in favor of a direct link to EBSCO Connect, which of course makes it easier to maintain, but the actual database help files are still available for the specific versions of the database. You can see CINAHL here, CINAHL Complete, etc. So click through to the appropriate version of CINAHL that you're using, and that will give you the details of field codes, for example, what constitutes a non-qualified search within CINAHL, and so on. So it's that same data, but now available in this way. Now, for those who are in England, that help link will direct you to the NHS help desk. So for those who use the Knowledge Library Hub, as we saw yesterday, it takes you to the help hub page. I believe and I understand this will probably be working the same way for EBSCOhost. In other words, it will go to a dedicated help page for the NHS. At least I'm assuming that. It may not, but currently the default setting is it goes to EBSCO Connect for support. Okay, so I'm just going to check if we have got any questions here at the moment. None as yet, but please feel free to post any or any comments if you need clarification. Before I look at some of the other features, just to point out also, we have publications here. This tab does what it says. If you recall, with the original interface, there's a link on the top toolbar for publications. It's now embedded within this page with a separate tab, and you can search for a publication. So if you put a Journal of Nursing, and yes, Kate, welcome for the session. It is being recorded, by the way. So yes, it's being recorded, and you'll have the copy of the recording post-session, albeit edited, and also the PowerPoint as well. Okay, you can browse for a journal here, it brings up the entry, click through to it, and then you can search directly within the publication and see also the metadata there, and also browse the various issues here, of course, etc. So we'll come back to that when we look at alerts a bit later as well. Now, CINAHL headings, this is where you'll find the index term if you want to browse the thesaurus. So, for example, if you are looking at bowel cancer, and you want to know what the index term is, then you can enter that here. So essentially what you'll do is go into this box here, enter bowel cancer, okay, and then from here, in fact, let me use another example here. I'm going to use heart attack, actually. That's what I wanted to use originally. So let's go for heart attack. So you may enter heart attack. If you select term begins with here and click the magnifying glass, you'll see, obviously, the preferred index term is myocardial infarction. Heart attack may be okay for a keyword search, but the actual index from CINAHL is myocardial infarction. And you can click through to that. It gives you the scope note. Okay, so definition of the term. It gives you what it's used for, as you can see, heart attack or heart attacks, etc., and any related headings as well. It also gives you its location within the CINAHL subject tree. You can see it sits under myocardial ischemia, heart diseases, and also cardiovascular diseases. And then you can select it from here. The explode option is selected by default. That can be disabled, by the way. But again, for those of you who have access to CINAHL nationally in the NHS and other institutions, for example, the HSE, with the version that you have, then you may have these settings already configured for you. And we have the subheadings as well. So you can focus on specific aspects like drug therapy, for example, mortality, if you wish. And for each of these subheadings, there is a scope note as well. Again, how it's used. So again, depending on the nature you're searching, if you're supporting a nurse with a particular assignment, maybe the research is not quite so extensive, but it's quite focused, then you can use those elements. And I think we may have a question that's here. Let me just go back here. Okay, question from Paul. Does the explode function on EBSCO still only retrieve that term and the child term rather than the end of the branch? So I believe so. So again, with this option here, if we just collapse this, you'll see other terms. So I believe it would include all these here underneath here. So anterior wall myocardial infarction to cardiogenic shock, those terms there. Okay. So we can provide more information on that as needed. Okay. So if you click add to search, in fact, you can check this, of course, yourself. Well, basically, it will just give you the search string and indicates that we've exploded the term. It doesn't detail here at this stage in this query string the actual other terms that are included, but it does give you the MH prefix, of course, for an exact CINAHL subheading, which you can also see in the drop-down menu here as well. Okay, so you can see the word exact subject heading. So we're using the exact subject heading as you might expect, and the plus sign indicates that the terms are exploded there. Okay, so that's just a quick preview of the CINAHL headings. We'll look at that a bit more in a moment. But what I'll do now, I'm just going to clear the screen. I will just review the dashboard elements before we run other searches as well. So just to clarify, we have two folders here. Well, three areas essentially where you're saving content, especially searches or articles. So we have projects. So projects are basically your custom folders. Okay, so I have nothing here at the moment. One thing to note though, when you click through for the first time or when you click through periodically, you'll see this reference to looking for old folders, and this relates to the classic interface. So basically what it means is you can get a report on the previous custom folders that you've set up and stored items in up until the end of this year. So obviously, we may have some who've already migrated to the new interface. Some, for example, in the NHS are delaying it. But you can generate a report. If you click on Get Report, it will switch the button to Download Report, and you can download an Excel spreadsheet, which will detail the content and coverage of those custom folders, including the labeling of those folders. Okay, so that is now available. Okay, if you have other items in the My Save folder, which is the generic folder for my EBSCO, when you're saving items, those will be transferred automatically to the new interface. Okay, so where it says looking for old folders, it's specifically referring to the custom folders that you may have created. And apparently less than 1% of users around the globe have used that feature, but I know it's heavily used in the NHS based on my previous experiences. Now, so projects is the new custom folder area. We'll look at that as we go through another search in a moment. Saved is the area where you save initially. Okay, so when you're running a search, you're saving items, they are saved to this folder, and you can see some records I saved previously. You can see that the icon for this is the ribbon, and you can see these items has that ribbon. And from this list, you can unsave as well, by the way. There are the searches also. So when I've been running searches and saving them, they're saved here initially. Now, if I've run a search and want to save it, then I can go in to the tools menu and I can add it to a project. So if I've run a search, saved it previously, we'll look at saving in a moment, I can add it to a project. And again, if I've created a project, it will appear here. If I haven't, then I click new project. I'll give it a name. So I'll just quickly select this. If it's part of an evidence search, a literature search I'm performing on behalf of a user, a colleague, or a department, and I have a deadline I'm working to, then I can add that due date here as well with the calendar. So I can scroll through to, for example, October and choose the 1st of October, and I can add more information here as well. Okay. Okay. So I see Kat has replied to Paul's question there regarding the EBSCO. So she worked with cartilage, with or without menisci tibial, but it depends on the database. Sport discus definitely only went down one level. So again, thanks for that, Kat. Obviously for sharing that with attendees today as well. So again, refer to the Teams chat for details there. So you've got the description. So that could be the department you're working for. It could be a particular aspect of the search. It's just, whatever you want to add here, but it's optional. And then you create the project. You get this confirmation, these two green bars on the top right. And if you go to projects now, you'll see that is stored here. It's date stamped. And then you go to the tools menu, the three dots there, or the kebab, as it gets called here sometimes, and you can edit the project and you can delete it here. Okay. So saved includes obviously records and searches. So I can also go in. So if I go some of these records here, I can also save these records and add them to that project as well. Okay, so go to the project now. You'll see and click through to it. You'll see we've got the record, the project name itself. We've got one record saved, and we've got the original search saved here as well. And notice the search includes the number of results plus the various filters, expanders, the search mode that's been applied to it as well. Now, recent activity is kind of the clipboard, essentially. When you're running searches, as I've done today, you can see I've got 3 so far. So all related to the natural language search I performed. So the first one, S1, shows that search mode. I've got apply with subjects on as expander, and then I've applied link full text, etc. as well, and then United Kingdom here also. Now, from this listing, you can sort them. So it shows the most recent first, although it's S3, S2, S1. I can resort them to the oldest. So if you are constructing a search strategy, of course, this is the sequence that you'd like to see it in. Okay, so the order that you perform the search. You can also change the settings for display, by the way. And then viewed records also. Anything you viewed during your initial searching, and that can be before you log in, that will be signed into my EBSCO. Those will be displayed there. And holds and checkouts basically is related to our folio service, the library management system, the open source system, and ebook. So that would not necessarily be applicable to yourselves, but we have alerts here as well. So alerts feature journal alerts and search alerts as well. So again, it's based on the searches that you're running. Below that, research tools, new search, as we've been seeing, takes you back to the original search page, the default landing page, which in this case is advanced. As I said, it can be basic if preferred, and you may have that for certain groups of users with a particular profile. Help menu takes you to EBSCO Connect. For the most part, Publication Authority takes you back to the tab where you can search for publications within CINAHL and then search directly within them. And CINAHL headings takes you back to the subject tab. Yes, Selina's pointed this out. So there's a new feature. This was not available a week or so ago. It is now apparent in a new interface. So I will let me just refer back to that here. This gray bar now. So this replaced what you may recall if you saw it was the wishbone. So it was kind of a mysterious symbol. It's quite small. So following consultations with librarians and also colleagues in EBSCO, this has been developed for combining. Okay, so when you're combining sets within the search history, as we'll probably see in a moment, then you can use now this feature. So there's no so yeah, go to get a thumbs up for that as well. Okay, so that's a new feature. And then that's rolled out across all EBSCOhost databases, not just CINAHL, also Medline as well. Okay, and that was due for release much later. Actually, I think it was due release in October, but it's been released early. So, okay, so let's go on a bit further. We'll look at another search here. So let me illustrate that, probably the best thing to do. If I click new search here, then I can perform a search here. So for example, let's just do one. In fact, let's do a quick one here and we'll look at results and we'll look at combining in a moment as well. So I just do bowel screening, etc., or bowel cancer, sorry. So I'm just choosing from the autocomplete feature. These are basically user searches that have been logged around the world, not just within England, not just within the UK, Ireland, etc., but across the globe. You may or may not use those terms, but for the sake of demonstration, I'll use them. And I can just add here screening, for example, or assessment or test or diagnosis. And I can just run the search here, combining with the Boolean and, of course. This is just a very simple search. What I can also do is apply the filter, as I mentioned earlier. So if I scroll down, and let's go for the past 5 years as well, and I'll go for the location of practice here, United Kingdom. Okay, and if I click search now, you should see UK specific search results within CINAHL. Okay, so obviously it's a very basic search. I could include other terms, but just to highlight the result list and also the means by which we save searches and so on. So at this stage, I may want to just save the search initially, so I can do that on the right. If I go to the three dots, the tools menu, you can see save search here. I can click save search, and then it presents this online form here. Okay, now it defaults to the search name of the search query, so the Boolean query here. So I'm going to remove that and modify it. So I'm just going to call it bowel cancer screening. Again, I can add a description. The query is there, so you can copy it to the clipboard and rerun that if you need to. And you see the search results, the search mode, the expanders, and filters that have been applied for this search within CINAHL. And then you can save this. So you get this confirmation on screen. So manage your save search from the save page within my dashboard. So just click close this and go to the left-hand column, and you'll see we've now got saved here. Okay, and then you can see the records that were previously saved, the searches. So this most recent one, again, the filter that's been applied. So the publication date, the location of practice. We use the proximity search. Again, you might see this as phrase where you are, and then the expander. And then you go in, if you want to make changes to this, click search details. And notice you have the edit search feature here as well. Okay, so you can go in basically into this search, click edit, and it'll take you back to the search screen. And if you want, you can add other terms here if you wish. Okay, so for example, I can, instead of assessment, I can look at assessed. I can add the truncation symbol and update the search here. So I can tweak this. It's updated. And if I now go, you can now see it features the truncation. So you can edit the search in that fashion. I can also copy from here as well. Okay, so you can use it in that way. If we just click through, and then also look at the results themselves. You can see the order here, they're numbered. You can select individual records from this listing. You can select, up to 50 at a time here. We support the exporting of results, by the way, so up to 25,000, which is the case with the EBSCOhost Classic as well, the original version. So that feature has been enabled. So if you want to export in RIS format, etc., then you can select this option. And then you can go through the process, add your email address. It's defaulted to XML here, but you can switch to RIS, RIS format, or CSV if you want the spreadsheet, and then click send. So it doesn't have to be anywhere near 25,000 records. It could be 129. Notice, as before, you have up to 7 days to retrieve that data. So you'll get a link that's valid for 7 days. In the original interface, it used to say 168 hours, which is a bit odd. We've now changed it to 7 days, okay, which makes more sense. So again, another enhancement to the interface. We have, obviously, you can display up to 50 records. You may be defaulted to 10 or 20, but increase it to 50. And relevance is the default sort, but you can view the most recent as well. Within the actual record itself, you can see you've got the title hyperlinked. You can see it's annotated to be peer-reviewed academic journal, so the publication type. And then you've got the authors. So these are collapsed because there may be a lot more authors. This was a problem with some of the other entries in Classic. So if you click this one, you'll see the other 8 authors. Likewise with the abstract, by default, you only see the first line or 2 of the abstract. Click Show More to view the whole abstract, and you do that likewise for each of the following references. And also with the subject headings, there can be a lot of them assigned to this article. So this has 16 more. If you click on that, it will display all the headings here. Okay. Okay, from Amelia there, can you export direct to EndNote or other software, or do you have to do a 2-step process? So you can do direct exporting. You can do it from the record itself. If you go to the tools menu, you'll see there is the option to share. I think this is the one I'm looking for. Actually, this email, sorry. That's the email option. So you do a direct, you can export those there. I think if you click on select this one, what I'm looking for is you can do export there. The download option, yeah, this is downloading different formats, obviously. And then I'm looking for the share. I think this one. Where am I going here with this? I'm looking for another option here. The cite button. That's right. Thank you very much. I did know that. Export option citation here. So you can see here, you can do a direct export here, RIS format, RefWorks, and so on. And you can also copy the citation. So you'll notice now, again, when I started running these sessions earlier this month, there was no option to choose the citation format. You can now select the style, so it can be configured by default. So Harvard is the preferred reference style, certainly for the NHS. I've configured my demonstration site for this as well. Originally, it defaulted to the alphabetical listing, which means you would see Brazilian national standards as the style. You can still select preferred styles, but you can now configure that in EBSCO Experience Manager. Yeah. So yeah, comment there, not very intuitive. Yeah, sometimes there are elements like that. So we will feedback those things. I know it's having rejoined EBSCO back in July, I've seen some changes, so I've adapted to this. But yeah, I think there's more to come on this. Again, okay, and from Kate, which had Cat comment there. Now, Kate, if there's time, could you demo a little more on the set of headings? Yes, we can. I'll come back to that in a moment. I know we're kind of time is moving on, but thanks again for pointing out the site tool. That I was going to come to that eventually, but it is there, of course. And again, the reference style can be configured to your institution's preferred style, and that is in EBSCO Experience Manager. You can also copy the reference to the clipboard from here as well. Okay. Okay, so just going into the record quickly here. In fact, have we got any? Let me go to link. I'm going to try and get some full text there content so we can just show you this quickly before we look at more safe searching, etc. So you'll see here the reference to access options that may be rebranded in some instances, but right now this gives you access to PDF content, online full text, which originate from an EBSCOhost database. So this may be coming through another EBSCOhost subscription, or it may be part of that small subset quantity of journals indexed in CINAHL. And there's about 70 of them, I think, just 60 or 70 of them. But if we go to this, you have the PDF full text here. And just to highlight this feature, as you expect, you get the reproduction of the original article electronically. On this page, you can view other articles in the same publication. And we have the tools across the top. So you have the save option, you can save it. The cite tool, which was just pointed out. So you can copy the citation, you can export it directly to RIS, EndNote, etc. We have the add to project. So again, you can add it to a project. So again, you can choose the project or you can create a new one here, and I'll do that now. And create, and it will save to that project. It wasn't added. I'm not sure what happened there. A glitch, maybe there's some work going on behind the scenes I'm not aware of. And then there's the share option again. You can share this. So if you want to share it to OneDrive or create a link for it, you can create the link here directly, by the way, as well. Copy that to the clipboard. And you can also email, and that would include the PDF and online full text as well. So you can just enter your email address and send it. And of course, you always get confirmation on the screen that it's been sent to the user, to the person, the colleague, etc. You can download here as well. So you have the PDF, obviously recommended here, or online full text. And also with metadata, as with searches as well, you can download them in PDF and MS Word format now as well. So Word format is available for downloading. Now, with this option, you have the headset there, the icon, the earphones icon to listen to this. So it can now be read online. I mean, the audio is available online, so for PDF content, and you can download the MP3. If we just jump briefly to the online full text as well, just to point out another feature there, I won't go through the others. You also have the additional option, well, the two additional options basically. First of all, you have the translation here. So if you come across an article in another language, if it's in French, for example, you want to translate it to English, then you can do so from here. Okay, so I've got a listing of languages, okay, which also feature Welsh and Guelga as well. So again, they are provided by Microsoft, by the way. So if I was to translate this to Afrikaans, for example, as it's top of the list, then you'll also see the actual reference to Microsoft. So it's provided by Microsoft. Okay, and you can revert back to the original language. Okay, so also useful for coming across articles that maybe not in your native language, etc. Okay, and there's the print option there as well. So now with the MP3 option, as it were, again, you can download the MP3 for this. Okay, but also you have the option to change the text highlighting there as well. Another thing to point out here is this little icon here. This is accessibility support. So if you want to receive this in an additional format, you can request that here. So you can have it in Word or HTML. Obviously, this is in HTML in any case, but you can receive it in Word format if you prefer. So you can complete that online. Good question from Fiona. How accurate, reliable are the translations? They are as reliable as a machine can provide currently. Okay. I know I did have one comment about one article and they said it's pretty good. So again, unless you're a native speaker, you won't know. But obviously, if you are a native speaker or if you're fluent in that language, then obviously you have a pretty good indication whether that's accurate or otherwise. But it is provided by Microsoft, and no doubt it's been enhanced over time. I'm not sure of the element of AI behind that, but I'm sure that probably has some impact, will have an impact in the future to enhance those kind of things. But it is provided directly from Microsoft. Okay, so again, if you're a native speaker, then maybe you come across an article, you get translated, you can check with a colleague who may speak that language. So it's a machine translation. Okay, so coming back, just to make about saved searches, I'm conscious that we need to look at some subject headings again here, but once more, if you want to save the search, you can do that here. And also, if you want to create the alert, so you can be alerted to more recent articles as they appear. There's the create alert option here. You get this form. Again, it defaults to the original search query, so you can change the name of this. Screening, okay, or cancer screening. Okay, you've got the description below, which is again optional, and you can set the frequency. By default, it's daily. That may be too frequent. You can switch it to weekly, for example, and the date created is given, and it will expire on the anniversary of that date. There is an option to renew it, by the way, as you'll see in a moment. The query is given, and you can see the interface, and you can agree to receive an email when the alert is created, as also when the alert is run, etc. And you can see it's on date CINAHL. So create the alert, and now we need to go to the page here, the alerts page here, and that's under my dashboard. So if you go to alerts here, you'll see search alerts is the second tab, and you see ones I created previously. Now, if you don't need these any longer, then you can simply go into this and delete them. So you may be doing this on behalf of users. You may be proactive. You may have a current awareness service, for example, and you're trying to keep professionals, maybe you've done searches for them before, up to date with the latest literature. You could do this proactively, or maybe at their request, or it may be part of the evidence search that you're performing. So obviously, if you're doing it, then you maintain it. And if you want to change things, for example, this one on leg ulcers and wound care, I've got a weekly alert here. So I can go in, I can edit this alert. So I can change it now to monthly. Okay. Also notice, yes, I want to extend or renew my search alert. So I believe you'll be notified when it's due to expire. Okay. Good question from Hazel there. Will existing alerts carry over when you switch to the new UI? Unfortunately, at the moment, they won't be carried over. That's what I know at the moment. I don't know if there'll be any change to that, but the alerts that are set up will not be carried over. So you'll need to make a record of that going forward. So that is not in the pipeline at the moment, as far as I'm aware. So alerts would need to be, you need to do that manually, as it were. You need to set those up in the new UI. And then you just save this, etc. Okay, and you see journal alerts as well. We did see where the journals page was. So if you go to Publications Authority, again, you look for a journal here. I just type in Journal of Community Nursing. Okay, so I open the entry page for the journal publication. So these are obviously publications indexed in CINAHL. And then you can go to the three dots, the kebab, the tools menu, and then create the alert from here. Again, this time it's a bit more straightforward because obviously it takes the journal name as the alert name. Again, it could be on behalf of a user, but me, right? And then you can configure this. Again, it will run for up to 1 year, and then you can create the alert here. So again, it tells us to go to the alert section. And if we do that, you'll see that displayed in the first tab. So it's here. Again, you go in and you can edit the alert here. If you need to change anything, etc. If you want to extend it, you can specify you wish to extend it there. And of course, you can go in and delete it. So obviously, this will alert users, yourself, to the latest content of a particular publication, a particular journal. So again, it's a form informing users, yourselves, of the latest content of a given journal without you having to go back and check that online, as it were. And you can view all the results on here as well. Otherwise, you can delete. Of course, you'll delete if you are setting up on behalf of a user who may no longer require it, who may have left the organization. So they're the alerts. Let's just go back now, of course, to the search. I'm going to clear this and run a search here. So what you can do as well is combine your search terms. So for example, if we take, let's go for ACL, okay, or anterior cruciate ligament injuries, etc. So I'll put this in my keyword search. Now I can run a title and abstract search here now. So you'll see here in the drop-down menu, there is this XB field code. Okay, so these will look for the words as they appear in the title or the abstract. Okay, so this has been long awaited, available for the new interface. And then I can also combine it with the CINAHL headings. So if I could select OR for this and go to CINAHL headings, I can add anterior cruciate ligament. Okay, and I can look at these and just wait for that to go through. And you can see I've got these terms here. I can go for these, for example, just to take a time and collapse those. If I just take these three terms initially, and here I can add to the search, and you'll see here what it does is obviously enter those subheadings in the search box, combining with the title and abstract search there. So MH indicating, of course, that it is an exact CINAHL subheading. And then when I search this, it will also combine them together. And if I'm looking at the kind of, that's the kind of the condition, if you like. If I look at an intervention in the same context, click new search here, then I can look at rehabilitation. I'll just again choose from the drop down just for sake of time, specify it's a title abstract search, choose OR here, then CINAHL headings, then I can clear this and then put rehabilitation. Okay, rehabilitation, and then search here. I can search these as well. I'll put nurses also, and I'd get to the questions in a moment. So, and I can add this here. Okay, and I can run this search. So combining a title object search with a subject search. And then just to highlight again, going back to recent activity and the new way of combining terms. Now I've got quite a lot here at the moment. So you can see here the most recent relates to this search here. I can just literally select these two sets and select from the button combine with and. When I do that, it posts the two sets combined in the box on the top there, and I can search for this. So I'm just going to refer to some questions here. Yes. Yeah, from Selena and also Fiona, is title and abstract title or abstract? Yes, I can say yes to that. It's been asked recently. I was talking to a librarian yesterday in Ireland about this. So basically, it will perform a search of the title or abstract. Now, one thing to note about this, it also depends on the search mode that is defaulted to. Okay. So anyway, I've just combined those there, and the results are now displayed. If I go back to the advanced search page, okay, so we've got a set there, but the thing I want to point out here is the search options. So proximity. Okay, so proximity is the default search mode, and providing that's selected, then the title and abstract option will work as expected. Okay, so it is, although it says title abstract, we will feed this back. So I know someone commented yesterday, it's a bit misleading because as soon as you see and, you think of the and operator, right? But based on consultation with other colleagues, including head office, it is doing what is expected. Okay, so it'll be good to hear more about that. I know at least one person said, you know, kind of highlighted it's probably misleading. So again, if anyone else feels that way, please let us know. Yeah, Sunny has mentioned that. Okay, but it is searching across the title and abstract fields, either or, as it were. Okay, based on the proximity search mode that's selected. Okay, we do have a FAQ on this, explains it in more detail. So again, we'll feed that back. So this is what we're getting at the moment from yourselves. And then just another question here from Kate. What's the difference between MH and major concept? Good question. So that is, if we go to similar headings here again, I'll put in, let's put heart attack again. I'll put myocardial infarction. Okay. So Kate just referred to this area. So we've got the subject term, of course, major concept. Major concept simply means it would retrieve records where myocardial infarction is the primary subject matter of that reference, of that, be it a paper, report, guideline, whatever it might be. Okay, so it's really more focused than a general search where you're just exploding the term. Okay, so major concept means that, because it could be a comorbidity, right? So again, it's just highlighting that is the primary subject matter. And I would say you may not use it that heavily, especially when you're doing systematic reviews and so on. You may be much broader than that, but it's basically highlighting that is the primary subject of that article. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Yeah, with some comments here from thumbs up from Jody, also from Hazel. Agree, using or would make it clear for everyone. Okay, and also, what does MH stand for? So basically, it means it's a exact subject heading. So again, going back to the drop-down menus on the right. And I'd also recommend you check the database files I mentioned earlier, because they give you a listing, and it's a listing of all the field codes that are available. So it says exact subject heading here. Okay. In fact, what I might do, I don't know if I downloaded it, but if I go to, if I go to help here, I'll just show you that since it's come up, just to give you the evidence of this. Yeah, it's the main heading. Yeah. So if we scroll down this page, this is the quick start guide. You have the database help files. And then on here, if I go to CINAHL, and it's a few clicks, but you can save it once you've got through to it, and it will save the file and then I will just open it up on screen so you can see this, make it larger. So if I scroll down, it gives you some examples of searching as well, grouping, searching parentheses, searching by entry date within CINAHL. So these are still applicable to the new interface and the alphabetical listing. And if you scroll down, you will see, excuse me, I hope you don't mind me speeding up there. You can see it's phrased indexed. Okay, so this is an exact subheading. Okay. So you could say the term, yeah, saying main heading is probably accurate. Okay. And there are variations of this, the word indexed, CINAHL word in major subheadings, exact set major subheadings, and so on. And there are definitions for each of these as well. Okay, so again, you can use these, and you see the command line query, how you might use them as well. So I've used them based on selecting directly from the CINAHL subject tree, but obviously you can actually, enter the command line query, just as you could with XB, for example. If you typed in XB here, radiography, it would do the same for this as it would be if you entered these terms and just selected the field code here. So this would be the command line type query. Okay, and you could do with MH as well, like so. So what I'll do, I'll go back to my PowerPoint, begin to wrap up here, and just point out to you what else is going on or what will be coming, and you can find out more for yourselves as well. I'll show where to go for that. So basically, we've got the platform roadmap. So this has recently been redesigned. In fact, redesigned about just after I finished the session last week. So this is available. So basically, EBSCO.com/roadmaps, and it provides you this section. That's updated every quarter. There's a section on research platforms, which of course will be EBSCOhost. Okay, that will then take you to the subsequent page, and on here you can filter by the product. So I'm using another screenshot here, and it will tell you what's coming soon. You can specify the actual date, etc. Okay, so again, you're able to filter to product, so EBSCOhost, EBSCO Discovery Service, and so on, and see what's coming out. And it's quite possible some of these things may come out sooner or later. That happened recently with the default site format that was released earlier. And again, EBSCO Connect is the place to go to for that. Okay, so we have EBSCO Connect, of course, you've seen that earlier. If you sign into it, and you can have your own login for this, and if there's several of you in the same library service, you can each have your own unique login. However, those cases that you report will be linked together for your library service. So basically, you can be a signed-in user for this as a librarian. You report a case through the case management system, and if you go away on leave, your other colleagues can see that and see where it's got to, etc. I have included some 3 key documents for this: the quick start guide, the frequent asked questions, and also just some information about how user feedback shaped the new UI. Obviously, we're getting feedback in these sessions, which is also useful for us, and we'll try to keep a note of this as well for you and feed that back to our teams, to our product managers, and so on. I will just pick up any last questions, but so I see from Colleen there, in the classic UI, there's a tick box option to map to subject heading. Are there any plans for this to be introduced in the new UI? I don't know that there are. I know what you mean. It's the suggest subject terms option. For those who don't know, it's basically where you would have the keyword search, your free text term, you tick the box, and it will map your keyword search term to the appropriate indexed heading. I'm not aware that that's being released in the new UI, but we can ask about that. Again, a lot of these features come about because there's a demand for them, okay? So they might not be there now. They could be implemented later, okay? Obviously, our software engineers, our product managers are very busy collating responses, deciding and prioritizing what they can do or cannot do at that time. So, but again, we can certainly feed that back if there's interest in that. But if there's anything else, feel free to put it in the chat. So appreciate for the interaction, the feedback. Okay, so happy to finish here and hopefully see you in the future. We will be adding more sessions in September. I'll send on Medline and also incorporating changes as they arise. So you can contact me directly if you need to, but for those in the NHS, please use the service desk for any technical queries, and they can escalate to EBSCO as needed, and also use other channels wherever you are as well. Okay, thank you very much.